Tales of Herding Gods Episode 57. In the previous episode, Qin Mu's journey took a turn toward chaos and destiny. Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor, nearing the end of his life, entrusted the fate of the empire to the younger generation, to Qin Mu, whose path now led beyond the reach of his master's guidance. Far to the north, Qin Mu and Chancellor Shan crossed the borders and met a remarkable youth, Pangong Tso, the son of the prairie king, brimming with ambition and talent. Yet, fate had a cruel design for him. Chosen as the vessel for an ancient shaman's reincarnation, Pangong Tso's soul was erased, replaced by the reborn Grandmaster who defied death itself. As Qin Mu continued his journey toward Harmony Prefecture, the empire began to crumble from within. Sects rose in rebellion, claiming to purge the empire of corruption, while the Imperial Preceptor's grand reform ignited a fire too vast to control. Everywhere Qin Mu traveled, he saw despair, unrest, and bloodshed, the cost of progress paid in chaos. Now, standing before the storm of war and destiny, Qin Mu wonders, how will the Imperial Preceptor restore order to this fractured world? And what role will he play in the Empire's fate? And the story continues. Qin Mu couldn't help exclaiming in admiration at what he saw on the way. As he traveled through Luo City, he was astonished by the sheer number of divine arts practitioners. If there were so many gathered in just one city, he could only imagine how vast the strength of the entire Eternal Peace Empire must be. Though the Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor could not currently mobilize these powers because of the rebellion, Qin Mu realized that once the turmoil was settled, the Empire's strength would not diminish but grow even greater. When he reached Harmony Prefecture, the atmosphere was entirely different from the chaos elsewhere. The prefecture was peaceful and prosperous. The people lived happily, working the fields with ease. As Qin Mu passed through the countryside, he saw martial practitioners using spells to help farmers harvest crops. Wind blades sliced cleanly through the stalks of rice, saving time and effort. Curious, Qin Mu stopped to observe. He noticed that these cultivators were using techniques from his own heavenly devil cult. After they finished, one of the young women advised the farmers not to dry their crops that day because rain was coming. The grateful farmers thanked her repeatedly. Noticing Qin Mu watching, the young girl approached politely and asked if he needed something. Qin Mu smiled and asked whether she belonged to the wind hall. Explaining that he recognized the spell, spring wind traveling close to the ground. The girl hesitated but finally admitted that she had learned it from Wind Hall Master Lei Zhengyan. Qin Mu then asked if her master had taught her the full technique. The girl and her companions explained that Lei Zhengyan rarely taught in full. He would demonstrate a move once and leave them to figure out the rest. Amused, Qin Mu offered to teach them properly. Drawing upon his green dragon vital qi, he demonstrated the true form of spring wind traveling close to the ground. Before their eyes, countless curved wind blades spun low over the ground like snakes. Racing across the fields, Qin Mu explained that the move was not merely a simple ground attack. He leapt into the air, stepped onto one of the flying blades, and used it to propel himself forward. While balanced on the whirling wind, he unleashed a storm of attacks. Hundreds of wind blades surged out, sweeping through a wide radius with immense power. Landing gracefully, Qin Mu dispersed the spell and smiled. The young practitioners were amazed. They had never seen their hallmaster perform the technique in such a way. They crowded around, eager to learn. Qin Mu sat with them by the field and patiently explained the circulation of qi and the fine control required to master the spell. He showed them variations, demonstrating that the wind blades didn't need to remain near the ground. They could turn upward, attack vertically, or be shaped in new ways. He explained that the essence of spells, sword techniques, and battle arts were interconnected. To prove his point, he released a knife pellet, sending curved blades flying out. The blades followed the same movement pattern as the spell, but the physical weapons made the attack even more powerful. Then, holding two knives in his hands, Qin Mu executed the move again, his knife lights flashing across the field like streaks of wind. The young practitioners were left speechless, unable to comprehend how a spell could transform seamlessly into a blade technique. Qin Mu smiled and told them gently that there were no rigid boundaries between disciplines. Who says a spell must only be used as a spell? He asked. You can shape it into whatever form fits your purpose. The young ones fell silent, contemplating his words. After a few more demonstrations, they finally understood. When Qin Mu asked why they weren't studying in school, they explained sadly that they were too poor. The cult had taught them these arts so they could make a living and survive. Just then, a familiar voice interrupted, praising Qin Mu's teaching. Qin Mu turned and saw the young patriarch of the heavenly devil cult accompanied by the elder of discipline. They had been watching from afar. The patriarch commended Qin Mu's insight, saying that giving him the great educational heavenly devil scriptures had been the right choice. Where others saw a single use in a spell, Qin Mu saw endless possibilities. Qin Mu, puzzled, asked if that wasn't the natural way to use them. The patriarch laughed, saying that it was, but that none of the previous cult masters had been wise enough to realize it. They then continued toward Harmony Prefecture city. Along the way, Qin Mu saw more of the cult's disciples helping ordinary people, digging canals, plowing fields, harvesting fruit, all with incomplete spells. This time, Qin Mu did not stop to teach. There were too many. It would take him a lifetime to instruct them all. The young patriarch asked Qin Mu's opinion on what he saw. Qin Mu answered that while the patriarch had helped build schools and colleges across the empire, the cult itself had fallen behind. Their disciples had no proper place to learn. He suggested that the cult establish its own schools and even send its best students to the Imperial College for higher study. The patriarch smiled and told him this would be his duty as the next cult master. Qin Mu asked why it hadn't been done earlier, and the patriarch sighed, explaining that the former cult master, Li Tianxing, had been too distracted by love for cult mistress Si to care about reform. Qin Mu could only shake his head, realizing Granny Si had been the cause of that missed opportunity. They reached the city, and to Qin Mu's surprise, the cult headquarters was hidden within the city lord's manor. Inside, high-ranking members of the heavenly devil cult, hallmasters, elders, guardians, and heavenly kings, were already gathered. The patriarch asked if everyone was present. Someone replied that the cult mistress, saintess, and one of the heavenly kings had yet to arrive. Moments later, an enchanting voice drifted in, asking if Qin Mu and the patriarch were there. At once, everyone's faces flushed, enchanted by the sound. Even the young patriarch looked flustered and scolded the unseen speaker. Qin Mu recognized the voice. It was Granny Si. The patriarch rushed outside, admonishing her for revealing her true beauty, which could easily disrupt the solemn ceremony. When he returned with her, Granny Si had resumed her elderly appearance and looked around fondly until her eyes met Qin Mu's. Smiling, she walked over, and Qin Mu eagerly grabbed her hand, teasing that he had recognized her disguise as Si from the Imperial College. Granny Si denied ever going there, claiming she only watched him from afar and felt reassured knowing the patriarch was with him. Before Qin Mu could press her further, a loud announcement echoed through the hall. Saintess has arrived. Qin Mu turned toward the entrance, ready to speak Granny Si's name, when he saw xianxia walk in, the very saintess they had been waiting for. Then, Granny Si leaned toward him and whispered softly, Saintess is even the classmate of Cult Master. You two entered Imperial College at the same time. And that wraps up this episode. In this part, we saw Qin Mu's journey through Harmony Prefecture, a place of peace and prosperity amid the turbulence of the Eternal Peace Empire. As he traveled, he marveled at how many divine arts practitioners filled the land, a sign of the Empire's growing power. In Harmony Prefecture, ordinary citizens lived comfortably, aided by young martial cultivators who used their spells to help with farming and daily life. Qin Mu's curiosity and compassion led him to stop and guide several of these practitioners. He patiently demonstrated the correct way to perform Spring Wind traveling close to the ground, transforming a simple spell into a breathtaking display of artistry and precision. Through his teaching, Qin Mu showed that true mastery lies not in imitation but in creativity, the freedom to blend spells, sword skills, and combat arts into one seamless expression of power. This moment revealed not only Qin Mu's immense talent but also his character as a teacher, humble, patient, and forward-thinking. He encouraged the young disciples to question limitations, to see beyond convention, and to use what they had learned to shape the world around them. When the young patriarch and the elder of discipline appeared, they praised Qin Mu's insight, acknowledging that his understanding of the great educational heavenly devil scriptures surpassed that of past masters. Even the patriarch admitted that Qin Mu's inventive mind represented the true spirit of the cult's teachings. As the group continued toward Harmony Prefecture City, Qin Mu reflected on what he had seen: the cult's disciples scattered across the land, using incomplete spells to aid common people. He realized the cult had great potential but lacked structure and opportunity for learning. His proposal to build schools and even send outstanding disciples to the Imperial College revealed his growing wisdom and sense of leadership. The Patriarch, seeing this vision, entrusted the task to Qin Mu himself, marking a turning point in his journey toward becoming a true leader of the Heavenly Devil cult. The episode also offered a moment of warmth and humor as Qin Mu reunited with Granny C. Her mischievous nature contrasted beautifully with Qin Mu's respectful affection, reminding viewers of their deep bond. The arrival of the Saintess, xianxia, Qin Mu's former classmate, brought the story to a graceful close, hinting at new relationships, responsibilities, and challenges to come in future episodes. Overall, this episode blended teaching, philosophy, and character development, showing Qin Mu's evolution not only as a cultivator but as a thinker and guide for others. His belief in innovation, education, and compassion continues to shape the world around him. If you enjoyed this episode or found it fascinating, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss any of the newest episodes following Qin Mu's incredible journey. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you again in the next video.